Number 109. Re Whoa. I can't pronounce this. Reifying. Is that
Yeah,
how it's pronounced?
I think so.
Okay.
I couldn't
Very
imagine
well.
it pronounced a different way.
Very
Reifying.
good.
Oh no.
This one's pretty short. Sarah, do you want to read this one?
Sure, I can read it. Yeah. All right, reifying, also mistaking the map for the territory. The ancient fallacy of treating imaginary intellectual categories, schemata, or names as actual material, quote unquote, things. Um, Example, the war against terror is just another chapter in the eternal fight to the death between freedom and absolute evil, sometimes also referred to as essentializing or hypostatization. These words, man. Okay.
Nice. I would have had the same moment of pause. You nailed it.
This one's so short, but also it says so much, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah. I have to reread it because I don't think I fully understood it.
This was put really well in the show Avatar: The Last Airbender, where they're like, look, all of these different nations and they're all fighting each other. We made up those lines. We drew it in the sand and said like this is what divides us, and we now are at war with each other. And it's like, look, we're all the same people. And your imaginary line shouldn't define you. You made it up.
It's kind of like racism. It's the same thing.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Is this I'm just trying to make sure I understand this. So is this basically saying that it's like you're treating imaginary things as if they're real?
Yeah, so like it'd be like treating the state line between Illinois and Indiana as a real thing.
Oh, okay.
It's like, oh, this line is real. So no, it's not. It's on a map. It's an idea, but it's not real.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've actually ever like I'm trying to think if there was a time that I did that. I can't think of one, to be honest.
I try to practice not doing this one as much as possible. I'm very kumbaya kind of a person, and I try not to. Our brains really like to categorize things because it makes us way easier for us to think of things a certain way.
Yeah.
Um, when in reality, all uh, most of everything is a spectrum, and that's more of a reality. And we like to categorize things, and there's a lot of people that um, treat the categorizations as fact, and they discriminate people because of it. Um, a big thing that that Sarah and I hear a lot because of the college show that we watch, The Line. There's a lot of trans people on there, and also biologists that will say like, look, uh, the idea of sex being a binary is entirely one that was drawn in the sand. There's basically every kind of spectrum imaginable between men and women in between, and it's just not talked about because people don't like thinking about it because it doesn't fit their categorization. Um, and then Forrest told a story about this the other day on that show, Forrest Valkai, where he was saying intersex people still existed even in the 1800s, where back only then only men could vote. But here's this person that is in between male and female physically, sexually. And they're like, hey, uh, I have this half penis vagina hybrid. I would like to vote. I feel like I'm enough of a man to vote. And because women couldn't vote then. And so this this went so far that like doctors couldn't decide which sex they were, because back then sex and gender were synonymous. And so it came down to, do you like the color pink or blue more? It actually came down to that, just like their preferences. And because they liked pink more, they were a girl, and they couldn't vote. And it was yeah, it's interesting that like just because we draw the line in the sand doesn't match reality, and people are discriminated for it. So that's the one that comes to my mind with this one. Um, I've been waiting on Alan. I'm so curious what Alan what examples come to his mind with this one.
For me, I think what comes to mind most namedly is identity of any kind. Um, just like, so example, someone saying, I'm an introvert, or someone saying, I'm an extrovert, or I'm an ambivert. I think that as soon as we apply any label on ourselves, our behavior of any kind, immediately we limit our life experience. Like someone who, as an example, who says, I'm an introvert, perhaps they're not actually quote unquote an introvert. Perhaps what's actually going on is that person experienced some type of punishment when they were a small child around communicating freely that created a trigger inside of their system, a trauma trigger, of which they actually would be way more happier spending time with tons of people. But because they've labeled themselves with this thing of I'm an introvert, and they accept that, they adopt that, they now are conditioning, auto conditioning themselves into a way of being that's not actually supportive for their happiness, or the other way around. So it's like, or, and it also makes a level of inflexibility of change. Maybe there is a season of their life where they don't want to spend as much time around people. And then there's another season where all of a sudden they want to enjoy tons of people all the time. And so it's like, to me, the biggest thing that popped through here was the usage of identities and labels with ourselves, and creating, because like, again, I look at it from more of like a human experience lens. And so that's kind of the biggest piece that I see here is placing these false labels on what we are, what we think we are. We go to some test and like example, a test that there's a perspective out there called human design, which takes your date of birth, your time of birth, and your location of birth, and then provides back to you based off of all that information this very long and detailed list of what you are, what you're not, who you are, who you're not, with different labels and whatnot. And I remember there was this one time where I was having a conversation with someone what my goals are, what I wanted to do, and as I was describing that to them, they were like, wait, but what's your human design though? And I was like, uh, I took it once and it said I was a generator or something. And there, or I didn't say or something because I've looked at it and I said I'm a generator. And they said, well, do you know what your lines are? And I was like, no, let me show you my chart that I have on my phone. So I showed it to them because I've had this question enough times. And they said, oh, well, I think they said, oh, well, you're a 5-1, so you're not going to be able to do what it is that you say you want to do. And it's just like, I was like, what? Like you're gonna tell me what I can't do because there's this thing that says that based off of a label. And I was like, yeah, sorry, no, I don't subscribe to that at all. There's zero chance. So for me, I get passionate about this particular fallacy specifically around identities and labels on human beings. I'd prefer to label somebody with their name, and that's it. That way I can get to know them more versus what someone says they think they are or aren't.
Thank you for bringing that up. I now thought of one that I definitely do. And that is the when I try to define someone as either a theist or an atheist.
Yeah.
Um, when it comes to the categorization of what the words mean, a theist is someone who is 100% convinced that a God exists, and an atheist is someone who is not 100% convinced that a God exists. They could be 99% a God exists, and that would technically be atheist. Um, and it's a line in the sand that it's like, okay, yes, technically, someone can be 100% convinced or not quite that. But it's not very useful for someone that is oh, what's that thing they call deconstructing? Yeah. For someone who's deconstructing, like Joey Love. Because I was talking to him about theism for years. He was very devout Catholic, and he very much believed that a God is real and that the stories in the Catholic canon are true. And then just as we talked over years, because Joey Love really likes to challenge what he believes all the time. He really goes out of his way to do it, and step by step, he he became less convinced that all of this was true, but he still proclaimed himself to be a theist. He's like, I'm pretty sure God exists. Now, in my if we're saying like, okay, um Joey Love at that point when he said, I'm pretty sure God exists, you might call them a theist, but if he's like 90% convinced or something like that, technically that would make him an atheist, even though he most likely thinks that there is still a God at that point in his life. Um the label is not helpful at
Mm.
that point. And so it kind of it restricts someone's mind to reconsider any position that they have, especially ones that can be life changing. If you're going to live your life based on what you believe, and you want to make sure you're making the right choices, then you better make sure you're believing what is actually true, and not just what you want to believe to be true. And so, and love is was very good at this. And then because there was that moment where it kind of like crossed over the 50% line for him, where he's like, I'm now I'm suspicious there's not a God. He's like, I'm not quite there yet, but it's now becoming a little bit more clear for me, and I'm now significantly less convinced than I was before.
Oh,
And then there was this time where he came up to me. He's like, I'm pretty sure there is not a God that's doing all these things." And now it's been, oh my gosh, it's been over a year since he said that. And now he's in, I think, a pretty hard atheist position where he is thoroughly convinced that there is not a God. Not just that he doesn't know, but that he's like, uh, God is not possible. At least in his interpretation of it. With Love, he was very focused on in Catholicism, I guess. I'm not Catholic. I only know so much about it. But he it was very big on free will and whether God allowed you to have free will or not. Do humans have free will? And it depends on how you define it, in my opinion. Personally, don't I don't care about it, but for a lot of people, this is a really big thing in their religion, whether people actually have free will or not, or if it's just the illusion of free will and it's actually just a domino effect on circumstances in your own brain, that you don't really have control over. It's like, well, I don't know. It's like if you have the ability to make choices like any life form does, then I would consider that free will. But if you don't consider that free will, then nothing is free will. And so yeah, that was kind of a tipping point for him where I was like, well, if all animals and all living things have this same amount of free will, then he was like, I would argue that is not free will, and especially if um, God already knows what the outcome is, then it is logically impossible, according to the second law of logic, for us to also have free will, even though he knows the ending. And then that one, he said that was the spell that broke it for him. He's like, that is logically impossible, and that version of God is impossible for Love. And there's a lot of people that believe in God, and they don't necessarily believe that like that matters all that much. But I don't know. It's interesting that like that was the thing. Um, And so, yeah, I would say labels in that regard are not helpful in someone deconstructing. There's definitely a spectrum of how much someone is convinced of something or not. Um, and yeah, that's Love Story. Or as best as I can articulate what I recall his story to be. Um, any other thoughts on this one?
No, this feels good. I like our little sidebar on it.
Very good.